Section 93 of the Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri, translated by Courtney Langdon. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Paradiso, Canto 26. The Eighth or Starry Heaven. The Twins. St. John examines Dante on love. Adam.
While I was frightened by my loss of vision, from the refulgent flaming which had quenched it, a breath, which caused me to give heed, came forth and said,
Till thou regain the sense of sight, which thou hast spent by gazing up at me, 'tis well that thou make up for it by speech. Therefore begin to speak, and say toward what thy soul aspires, and also bear in mind that sight in thee is lost, but not destroyed, because the lady who is leading thee through this divine expanse hath in her look the power possessed by Ananias' hand.
At her own pleasure, soon or late, I said, let the cure reach the eyes which portals were, when with that fire she entered, wherewithal I ever burn. The good which sates this court is Alpha and Omega of all scriptures love reads to me in tones or low or loud. And that same voice which rid me of the fear the sudden blinding blaze had given me, inspired me with a wish to speak again, and said,
Thou surely through a finer sieve must pass thy meaning. It behooves thee say who toward so great a target turn thy bow.
And I, by philosophic arguments, and by authority which from up here descends, must such a love needs stamp itself on me. Because the good, when understood as such, enkindles love, and all the greater love, the more it holds of goodness in itself. Hence to that being who so perfect is, that every good which lies outside of him is nothing but a beam of his own radiance, more than to any other must the mind in love be moved, of all who recognize the truth on which this argument is based. He to mine understanding shows this truth, who demonstrates to me the primal love of all the sempiternal substances. The truthful author's voice revealeth it, when, speaking of himself, he saith to Moses, All goodness shall I have thee see. Thou too revealest it to me when thou beginnest the loud announcement which o'er other trumps heralds on earth the secrets of this state. Thereat I heard,
By human understanding, and by authorities therewith concordant, the sovereign of thy loves is turned to God. But further say if other chords thou feel attract thee toward him, so that thou mayst say how many of love's teeth are biting thee.
Not hidden was the purpose of Christ's eagle. Nay, rather I perceived to what he wished to lead my love's profession to declare. Hence all those bitings, I began again, which possibly could turn one's heart to God, have with my love of him concurrent been. For both the world's existence and mine own, the death which he endured that I might live, and that which all the faithful hope, as I, together with the mentioned living knowledge, have drawn me from the sea of wrong desires, and set me on the shore of righteous love. I love the several leaves wherewith enleaved is all the garden of the eternal gardener. According to the good he giveth each. As soon as I had ceased, a most sweet song throughout all heaven resounded, and my lady said, Holy, 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 with the rest. And even as at a vivid flash of light one wakes from sleep, because one's visual power turns toward the ray which moves from coat to coat, and as the one awakens shrinketh back from that which he hath seen, so senseless is his sudden waking, till reflection helps. Thus Beatrice drove all motes from mine eyes, by the mere radiance of her own, whose light shone further than 1,000 miles away. I therefore saw far better than before. Then, since I was amazed at it, I asked about a fourth light I beheld with us. My lady then,
In yonder radiant light, the first soul which the first power e'er created is gazing joyfully upon his Maker.
Even as a bough which, while the wind is passing, bends its top down, and then uplifts itself, by innate strength which raises it again, even so did I, amazed, while she was speaking. And then the wish to speak wherewith I burned made me feel reassured, and I began, O fruit that wast alone produced when ripe, O ancient Father, thou to whom each bride is both a daughter and a daughter-in-law, I beg thee as devoutly as I can to speak to me. Thou seest my wish, hence I, that I may quickly hear thee, tell it not. At times a covered animal so stirs, that its own movement needs must be revealed, because its covering corresponds to it. So likewise did the first of souls display to me, through that which covered it, how gladly he came to give me pleasure. Then it breathed,
Without it being told to me by thee, better do I perceive what thou desirest, than thou perceivest what thou knowest best. For I behold it in the truthful mirror, which of itself makes other things a likeness, though naught makes it a likeness of itself. Thou fain wouldst hear how long it is since God in that high garden placed me, where this lady prepared thee for so long a flight of stairs. How long it was a pleasure to mine eyes, the real occasion for the mighty wrath, and what the tongue which I both used and made. Now, son, the tasting of the tree was not itself the cause of such a banishment, but only the transgression of the bound. In that place, whence thy lady started Virgil, I hence for this assembly longed 4,300 revolutions of the sun and 2. And him I saw return again to all his highways lights 900 times and 30 while I still abode on earth. The tongue I spoke had quite extinct become a long time ere the people under Nimrod attempted their unfinished task. For never was a product of man's reason apt to endure, for human appetite renews itself according to the heavens. That mankind speaks a work of nature is, but if in this or that way, nature then leaves you to do according to your pleasure. Ere I descended to the grieving place below, the highest good, from whom proceeds the joy which swathes me, was on earth called I. El was he called thereafter. This must be, for human custom is, as on a bough a leaf, which goeth as another comes. Upon the mount which highest from the sea ascends, I lived in innocence and sin, from the first hour until the one which follows after the sun's first quadrant change, the 6th.
End of Paradiso Canto 26.